In the inbox late night, glowing screens see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
The only site abandon flow you will ever need. Today's episode is crazy actionable. The purpose of site abandon is to get someone into your browse abandon flow. If they just buy from site abandon, great. But if you look at the revenue per email sent of your site abandon, it's going to be a fraction of the revenue per email sent of your cart abandon because they're not that engaged yet. These messages are shoppable landing pages. You start with the shoppability because you got the highest chance of a fat finger-friendly grid driving someone into a product and progressing them down the funnel. It's the world's best email and retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilot House email and customer retention team. Today, we are going to break down the only site abandon flow you will ever need. In future episodes, we will break down the only browse abandon flow you will ever need, the only cart abandon flow you will ever need, and the only checkout abandon flow you will ever need. If you've not yet clicked to follow or subscribe or be notified of future episodes of the world's best email and retention podcast, based on whatever your podcast app is, please do so now. We're trying to reach as many people as we can. I'll acknowledge that in recent episodes, I've stepped a little bit from my remit on the pod. My goal was to give you insights you could use today to improve your program. And we did the effect of the election on DTC, which is definitely a little outside of email, although important for you to go and listen to if you want to profit from a group of people who are going to spend in 2025. We did Fight Companion, which hopefully you liked, and was a great way to get an idea of how we think about email here at Pilot House. Maybe not as directly actionable. We'll wait no longer. Today's episode is crazy actionable. One little caveat. In these upcoming site abandon, browse abandon, cart abandon, checkout abandon episodes, the one thing I will not discuss is the complex set of rules necessary to traffic cop these flows and make sure they're just not spamming people all over the place with any random message. Here's the deal. Someone signs up, they put something in their cart, they should get a cart abandon email that drives them back into their cart because that's the stage of the funnel that they're at. They should not get a site abandon with bestsellers driving them to start shopping. They should not get a browse abandon email that gives them recommendations to keep them shopping. No. Don't drive them further up the funnel. You want to drive them down the funnel. So it will be up to you to come up with the rules to traffic cop these and make sure that your conversion funnel support overall, which is site abandon, browse abandon, cart abandon, checkout abandon, sends the appropriate flow for where someone was in their purchase experience and will drive them down the funnel to flows further down the funnel and will not send them flows further up the funnel and drive them up the funnel. We've got something like 10 rules per flow to make sure all this works appropriately. If you do not do this, people will just get whichever one kind of went first based on send times and smart sending rules, and it'll just be a little bit of a mess. And it's better than poking the eye with a sharp stick, but it will not perform as well as something that sends someone the right message for where they were in their purchase experience and drives them only down the funnel. We won't discuss this in the pod because it's just too complicated. It's like 40 rules. We're not going to go over 40 rules. That's crazy. So I will leave that up to you. You are all smart, creative, and dedicated entrepreneurs and spammers. I believe in you. Okay, let's jump in. Hey, entrepreneurs and spammers. I realized right at the end of this episode that I didn't even spell out the trigger for abandoned site. So listen, everybody should have an abandoned site flow, but I know from my audits that many of you do not have an abandoned site flow. Abandoned site is a flow that triggers off of the active on-site event for people who did not make it into the catalog, right? Which would be the viewed product event. So if you don't have an abandoned site, you want to trigger the flow that we discuss here with the active on-site event for people who did not enter the catalog. Have fun spamming. One point, we've discussed this before, 20-minute, 8-hour time frame where email 1 goes out after 20 minutes, email 2 goes out after 8 hours. If you're going to do that, you must have smart sending off on both email 1 and 2, or welcome will block email 1, welcome email 1 will block site abandoned email 1, and site abandoned email 1 will block site abandoned email 2. So watch out for your smart sending. As for whether 20 minutes and 8 hours outperforms overall 1 hour and 1 day, which would be another kind of very basic way to approach this, you got to test it. You got to test the placed order rate, the unsubscribe rate, and the spam complaint rate. See how it affects your long-term list, because there's actually a minority of people on your list that click regularly, so getting someone to unsubscribe because they're clicking is kind of crazy. Spam is, will you stay in the inbox? And of course, placed order rate is how much better is it at driving sales? You'll have to run your own analysis to decide, but consider a 20-minute, 8-hour time frame for email 1 and 2 versus a 1 hour, 1 day. First. 2, as an option, so let's say you've got email 1, site abandoned email 1 and site abandoned email 2. As an option, you can do segmented versions of email 1. So you do kind of version A, version B, version C, and then general for email 1, and then site abandoned 2 general. Usually don't need more than 2 site abandoned emails unless you've got a very, very constrained campaign program, let's just say. I mean, site abandoned's a bounce. Do you want to get like 4 extra emails in your inbox just because you bounced? Probably not. So only in a very constrained campaign environment do you do more than 2 site abandons. But site abandon 1, you can break up by content. So let's talk about what you would do. First of all, browse abandon, which we'll talk about later, is broken up by product collection because they got onto a product. You know what collection they're interested in. But site abandon, they didn't get that far. They didn't get into a product. So we're going to take it a conceptual level up and we're going to focus on the brand. Makes sense, right? So you must, before you can do this optional segmenting of email 1, go in and turn on the page view custom page metric. You got to take the Klaviyo code and put it into your JavaScript, get your technician or whoever to do this. Technician, husband, wife, father, right? Whoever's doing this for you, to turn on the page view custom page metric. So that, and start recording the URLs people visit. Next, you want to figure out which pages to trigger off of. Well, obviously it's going to be pages with top traffic. Pages with top traffic, not the homepage, of course, and not collection pages because we're going to focus on collections later on, further down the funnel. Here we want to focus on why did they come here? What were they looking at when they bounced? I mean, even though they bounced, look, one way to think about it is they bounced because they didn't like the page they were on, but more often than not, they saw an ad, they did whatever they did to get on your site. They did a search on Google. There was an indexed page. They got there, and then for some reason they walked away. But the fact that they got to that page shows that probably that is the psychographic you should be focusing on for them. So let's say you've got some blog pages and some video pages. Let's say you got some rich content on the site. If you go to Google Analytics and you search for your top pages descending, more often than not, you're going to see 2 or 3 of these rich content pages that have a whole lot of page views, right? I don't know if they're called page views anymore under GA4, whatever they're called. They got a whole lot of views because they got indexed or they got linked to, or you drive a lot of ad traffic to them and they're like post-click landing pages. Whatever the case, those pages, they're why people are there, right? You've got your gingivitis page and your halitosis page. Well, okay, that's why they're there. They hit that page because that's what they were interested in. So you can go into the flow rules and say, if visited this page, give them this. If visited this page, give them this. It's a little cascade, it's a little waterfall, and you pick people off and you give them the different version of email 1 based on whether or not they saw that page. And then, so if you do that later on as we go through this email, just realize that you're obviously going to write it with an angle that focuses on that kind of psychographic part of your business that they entered or browsed through. Okay, now let's talk about the actual emails, right? Again, site abandon 1, site abandon 2. Probably don't recommend a site abandon 3. Well, first of all, this is a little controversial for this email. It's definite later on in your funnel support. I'm going to say it here anyway, although I'll admit that some of you crafty people out there might run a test and beat my call here. And if you do, all the more power to you. Hey, go in some comments and let me know. Right? I'd love to know that, whether you proved that this was right or wrong. You can fill out the lead form and send a message to me. Probably the best way is fill out the lead form and send a message to me, because all those come to me. I don't miss any of those. Anyway, no hero shot. Progress directly down to the meat of the message. Why am I saying this? Okay, think about this massive awareness funnel, and it's also kind of a purchase funnel. It's all one thing. It's all one funnel. Okay? The first thing you're sending out is campaigns. Campaigns are for picking up pennies. Your campaigns have like 5 to 10% the revenue per email sent of your automated messages, right? Think about like you make 5 cents per email sent on a campaign and $1 per email sent on an automated message. Very common. Okay? So campaigns you're sending to people who are not engaged. They're out to lunch. They're doing something else with their life. And so you draw them in with the beautiful picture of the people climbing the mountain. They're climbing the mountain and they got their dog in their backpack, and then they drink out of the awesome thermos you sell, right? It's the landscape. Draw them in. That's where you start, because you're at the very top of this funnel, right? Okay, well, site abandon, they went to the site, okay? They clicked on one of those. Either one, they went to the site randomly just by typing it in out of nowhere, or more likely, they saw one of your ads, or very likely one of your emails, and it was the picture of the mountain and blah, 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 and they went to the site. Okay, fine. Don't do that again. Progress down the funnel. Skip the hero shot and go right to the dynamic products. So this, we're going to assume here that you have a large enough catalog to support like a dynamic product grid. If you're a single product kind of company, then don't make this dynamic, these dynamic blocks, just actually hard code it. Just pick a product and write a whole lot of information about it. But okay, so dynamic bestsellers block. Why do we start with the dynamic block? Well, someone's going to enter your site more than once. So if you've got dynamic blocks, hey, they're going to change over time. And so there's a chance that they see something new. They get the email again, they see something new, right? Now, bestsellers are always pretty much the same. Email 2, site abandon email 2 has new to site, right? And new to site does change more often. Why do you do bestsellers before new to site? My finding is bestsellers outperforms, whatever. So you start with a 2x2 grid of bestsellers. Or if you've got a massive catalog, you can do a 2x3 for 6 products. If you've got a really kind of tight catalog, you can do a 1x2, which is just 2 products next to each other. Whatever. Size it for your catalog. Basically, you want to just size it so it's not just going to be the same every time, right? And if you've got a small catalog and you got a 2x3, whatever it is, that whether it's bestsellers, recommendations, trending, which is bestsellers over a very short period of time, or new to site, it's always going to be the same if you've got a small catalog and you're doing a 2x3. Okay, so the first thing they see is your 2x2 grid, for instance, of bestsellers. And of course, you got a headline there that's like, check out our bestsellers. Okay, why are we starting with that? Because the purpose of site abandon is to get someone into your browse abandon flow. If they just buy from site abandon, great. But if you look at the revenue per email sent of your site abandon, it's going to be a fraction of the revenue per email sent of your cart abandon, right? Because they're not that engaged yet. Look, if they buy from site abandon, great. But more often, what's going to happen is they're going to plinko down a layer and progress into your browse abandon because they clicked on one of the best sellers. Because best sellers always work. They're your best sellers. So start with your product grid. Again, some of you are going to go, you crazy, and you're going to put a hero shot on there. Test it. Hey, test it. Okay, after the bestsellers, we're going to put in a brand message. Now, you know what? You may test your brand message above your bestsellers. The one thing I'll say is, if it's not a product grid, if you're not building a shoppable category page with a product grid on top, when they receive this email more than once and they see that it's the same brand message, they're not going to scroll down and look at the products and click on a product. They're just going to click back. That's why on these automated messages, you start with the shoppability, because you got the highest chance of a fat finger-friendly grid driving someone into a product and progressing them down the funnel. Shoppability. These messages are shoppable landing pages. It's like a landing page from your site in someone's email inbox, right? Shoppable landing pages. Okay, so the brand message. Let's talk about what to do with this. Let's get a little bit more kind of froofy here. Okay? Now remember, you're segmenting this by URL. So someone came in, they checked out this blog page. We'll angle it for this, right? So really, really, really high level. What is a brand? A brand is where someone asks themselves subconsciously, what world are these guys in? And if I was in that world, would I be secure and desired, right? Would I be safe and wanted? So secure, like, we all need, this is animalistic. We are all just cavemen with cell phones, right? So secure. Will I be warm? Will I have food? Will I be able to survive? Wanted, desired. It's like, is it going to improve my probability of reproducing? We're all just cavemen with cell phones. So what world does this brand live in? And if I lived in that world, would I be safe and wanted? So you can just put yourself in that headspace and start thinking about the brand message that you're going to convey. That's really high level. Okay, next headspace, next layer down, a little more tactical. So there is features and benefits. You can just talk about general features and benefits of your products. Although I would save that for browse abandon if I were you when we start talking about the products. A little more is storytelling, where we focus on kind of pain point, aggravate, resolve. So why not talk a little bit about the consumer's day, the problems they face, and the set of problems that would be resolved if they had your product, right? Draw someone through their day. If you want to get really creative, visually draw out their day. Show them traveling through their day with a little path on your email. Why not? Pain point, aggravate, resolve. Also, like a little more technical and like straight out of the textbook, positioning. So positioning is your audience. This is what it consists of. Your audience, your competitors, and your differentiators. So who are you to your audience? You are the things that make you different from your competitors. They don't notice anything else, right? Everything else is just in one ear out the other, in one eye out the other, if that makes any sense at all. So talk about yourself using your competitors' angles and kind of strengths and weaknesses, using that as the language. I'll give you a very firm example of this. Coke Classic, kind of most popular soft drink in the world, right? Okay, Pepsi, the taste of a new generation. Whoa, they just took what Coke was doing and flipped it, right? And said, we're better because we're not that. Wow, right? So we had our bestseller, we had a product grid, shoppable. Right out of that grid, we are going to the high level and talking about the brand. We're not talking about the product. Why? They didn't even click on a product. They didn't get into your catalog. So don't talk about the product. Talk about the brand. Talk about why you are special. I've said this before, so I apologize if you've heard it before, but you are not marketing your product. You are explaining to people why they should buy from you rather than go to Amazon and buy the cheapest version that competes against your product, right? You're not selling your product, you're selling your product against Amazon. So do that here, okay? They clicked on a campaign or whatever, they got the site abandon email. Very common for half of the traffic going into your site abandon to be from addresses that are more than 120 days old. If you are properly using your campaigns to reach people, using your reactivation, continuation automations to reach late dated addresses, keeping people in. If you're doing everything right, you're going to have a lot of people go into your site abandon who haven't been on your site for a long time. They have been on your list for a long time. They might have forgotten all the reasons that you're great. Maybe they probably never read your welcome program in the first place. If they've already bought, they've got the coupon and then they left. So use this space to explain why you are the product that is going to improve their life, that you are the product that's going to help make them the better person that they want to be. And beneath this, the third section, reviews, right? Kind of testimonials, social proof. So we started with shoppability, and then we went to branding, and then we went to social proof. Wow. And again, email 2 would be new to site. Hey, check out what you've missed. You don't know when the last time they were on the site was. Could have been a long time. They don't necessarily know what's going on in your catalog. So check out what you've missed. Here's some new to site. And then give them another brand message. Angled based on the page that they entered or read, the content page, the most common content page, right? Or a general message. And then some more reviews. And that's your site abandon. Now we'll finish off and just talk a little bit about incentivizing, about coupons. And this is kind of the same for site abandon, browse abandon, cart abandon, checkout abandon. You just decide how far up the funnel you want to incentivize. So first of all, do you want to incentivize at all? Some people, they say, I don't want any incentives in my conversion funnel support. And look, if you've got good incentives inside of your post-purchase and your reactivation, then you don't need incentives. Like you've got a welcome coupon, a post-purchase coupon, a reactivation coupon. Those deals, you only get to have one deal inside of your abandonment emails, unless you have very complicated abandonment emails that somehow match the windows of those other coupons. So you could have someone get one coupon, like a reactivation that's a really good coupon, a really deep discount, and then suddenly they get a smaller discount in the abandonment and they get confused or whatever. So you can avoid that by doing no incentivizing in your abandonment emails. Okay, if you want performance, I recommend you do. I recommend you put some incentives in your abandonment emails. They work. So the next decision, if you decide you're going to, is how far up? Do you want to start on site abandon, or do you maybe start on browse, or start on, hey, they got it in the cart, so let's get them to convert. Default discounts should be used to get someone who has shown intent to cross the finish line, right? Or someone who's totally out to lunch and hasn't been anywhere near your site or product for a long time, to draw them back in, get them to click, get them back in your campaigns, get them in your AdSense retargeting, right? For really late dated addresses. But for getting late dated addresses, it's for people who have shown intent. That's why you don't want to have a lot of discounts in campaigns. You're rewarding someone for doing nothing. You want to reward people for doing something. So if you see this as a way to just get someone over the finish line, they're right there, just give them that discount to get them over. Well, then you'd start on like cart checkout. You can also move it further up. So let's say you decide, we've now got, okay, I'm going to do it at all. Okay, I'm going to now decide, okay, I'm going to start at site abandon. Let's say you've decided you're going to start discounting at site abandon. You should use the same discount throughout your conversion funnel support. I would not use a different discount on different layers. That's crazy. People are going to get different stuff going on. Second point, you should use this for first-time buyers only. And there's a very technical reason. I won't go into this really deep, but Klaviyo, there's some trickiness in getting someone to use the same coupon more than once in a flow. So if the flow is using dynamic codes and they go into site abandon, they use a code, it's dynamic, and then they get the flow again in future and they try to use the code again, they're going to get an error. I would say it's actually, look, I love you, Klaviyo. You guys, I love you. This is, I think, a miss, right? Because there are some situations where you'd want someone to be able to go through a journey and get a discount again. So without going into all of the nitty-gritty, the recommendation is, in your abandonment, the first question is, have they purchased before? If they've not, put them through the version that has the coupon. If they have, put them through the version that does not. Okay? If you do that, you're fine. Final point on this, I'll just say, it's a pretty big edge case for someone to use the coupon on site abandon and then buy again from site abandon with the coupon. Already repeat buyers are a minority of your list, and now you're they've used a code from the exact same flow twice. We know this. We know about this restriction because after dozens of clients, it finally triggered on one, and we went and went, oh wow, I didn't even know it was this. So it's we're talking mega edge case. So if you decided, I'm not concerned if this mega edge case happens, then you can just have the coupon available for everybody, whether or not they've purchased before, and you'll probably never hear anything about it, but you could get someone messaging you saying, hey, I've got an error on this coupon, and more likely what'll happen is you'll lose the sale. That's what'll probably happen, right? Although the most likely is they're a repeat buyer and they use the code and it works because they didn't make their first purchase through that flow. Okay, but let's just say you took the safest route and you said it's for first-time buyers only, which also fits into a whole mindset of we want to incentivize the first purchase and then not again, they're on their own. Or they go into reactivation, which will incentivize the second purchase, and then it will not incentivize beyond the second purchase because the whole purpose of your email program in some ways of thinking is to make a second-time buyer. If your email program is entirely built around making someone purchase a second time, you will have a killer effective email program, right? So let's say you decide your site abandon will send coupons to first-time buyers only. Then we figure out what's the weight. So if it works on email 1 right away, here's so they get in there and the first email, it's got a coupon code. What do? Just use your welcome offer. Just put your welcome offer as a banner at the top of your site abandon emails for people who haven't bought before. Done. Super easy. You take the emails, clone them, put the banner at the top, done. And you got your welcome coupon, and what it's doing is reinforcing people who filled out the form and got their welcome coupon. Let's say you want to incentivize right at the end. So let's say you were in a situation where you actually had 3 site abandon emails and you wanted to incentivize only at the end. Or if you've got 2 and you want to incentivize only on email 2, which means you're giving them a chance to buy at the full pop on site abandon 1, or to progress down a layer, on site abandon 1. Then what you can do, you can use the welcome offer again, or you could put in your post-purchase offer. And what this would do functionally is actually give them a deeper discount, because your post-purchase offer, let's say your welcome offer is 10%, your post-purchase is 15 through 20%. That's the way it is. So what's going to happen is when they get their welcome offer, a lot of people who go through these flows, first-time buyers, FTBs. So they got the welcome offer, and then suddenly, oh hey, it closes off with a deeper discount. It's that thing to just get them over the finish line. What might happen is they get something in their cart. It's going to put them in the cart abandon, and you're going to have these exact same rules on cart abandon too. So you're going to have the exact same discount set up in cart abandon, so it's not going to be too crazy or weird. And then the final option is, let's say you make them wait 30 days. Okay? It's now a funnel flusher. Well, a whole lot of rules involved in making sure that they're getting all the right emails and that this thing's shooting out after 30 days, knowing that they haven't purchased since 30 days of entering the funnel. Obviously, you're going to need rules to make sure that all this makes sense. Assuming that you are smart and creative entrepreneurs and spammers, you figure it out. So then 30 days later, they enter the funnel, they don't purchase. 30 days later, they get the reactivation coupon, which is, welcome is 10%, post-purchase is 15 to 20, reactivation is 25 to 35. Deep discount. That's a huge discount for site abandon. Well, really, it's not for site abandon because again, every single layer is going to have this. However far you decided to go up, you're going to have the same offers on each layer, right? Or it's going to be craziness. So, that's a pretty deep discount for site abandon. But you know what? They entered the funnel and they didn't purchase. Listen, that intent is gone. At 30 days, that intent is dead, right? The opportunity to profit off of that is dead. So what we're saying is, let's get the purchase at the 25 to 35%. You're probably not really making a whole lot of money. You're giving the product away, but you're getting product in their hands. And then you can try to make the money on the second purchase because your program is going to be built around driving second purchases. So yes, again, first we decided, are we going to incentivize in conversion funnel support? Then we decided, how far up are we going to go? The vertical component. And then we decided, how long are we going to give them to naturally purchase? The horizontal component, right? Right away, we're going to incentivize. We're going to incentivize at the end of the flow, email 2 or email 3. Or we're going to have something else that runs after 30 days saying anyone who entered the funnel, if they haven't purchased yet, give them this discount. That's how you think about incentivizing in your funnel support. Okay, everybody. Wow, I spelled it out for you all. All my fans out there, the 3 or 4 of you that listen every week. Look, if any of you implement this site abandon and your business doesn't improve, please message me. Let me know. I want to know where I'm going wrong. Because as far as I can tell, this is dynamite. I mean, many of you don't even have a site abandon. I guess I forgot to say, site abandon triggers off of active on site. So many of you don't even have a flow that triggers off of active on site. In fact, I'm going to have to insert a little note at the beginning of this because I can't believe I even skipped that. It's so obvious to me that everyone should have a site abandon. Many of you don't even have a site abandon. You don't even realize you need a flow that triggers off of active on site for people who did not view a product. So if you add this to your system, there's no way your business isn't going to improve. So there will be a further one. The next one's going to be the only browse abandon flow you will ever need. Until then, have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey entrepreneurs and spammers, remember, you can't scale without email, and the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.